Hello and welcome to another episode of the Monday Night Wars. It is March 18th, 1996, and we are live with WCW Nitro at the UTC Arena in Chattanooga, Tennessee. I am Scott, and with me, as always, is Joseph the Man Rojas. Joseph, how are you?
Kind of preferred the mind, but I'm doing good, man. How about you?
You like the mind? I mean, we can do the mind. I thought I might switch it up. Switch some gears. Give you a different one every week.
Hey, you do you. Speaking of gears, by the way, I was looking at our Spotify analytics, and it
Ooh.
turns out that 40% of our listeners, which is actually the most in this pie chart, happen to listen to us on their smart speaker. So I'm assuming these are people who are listening through like their cars. That's what I would assume. So, while you're listening to us, make sure you're, obeying all traffic laws, driving real safe. We just want to make sure.
Stop it.
We just want to make.
Stop
No,
it.
no, I'm not making a joke. I'm not making a joke. We just,
Do not make a Dale Earnhardt reference.
no, I wasn't even going to do that. Now I got to edit all this out. I just want to make sure people are getting to work safe. That's all I'm saying. Especially you, Ronnie Schmidt. That's our boy right there.
We love you, man. We love you. Thank you for sending us a letter. Send us an honest to God letter. We appreciate that. And you all can send us letters too. You can tell us how great we're doing because those are the only letters we're going to read on the air. We're not going to read your mean ones.
Yeah, we got a lot of those. A lot of those.
Yeah, it was the first honest to God nice letter we've received. No, seriously, it's the only letter we received. So thank you, Ronnie. We appreciate it. It's nice to know that someone listens and is enjoying this. We're just really doing it for fun, but it's nice to know other people are enjoying it too. When this show starts, though, Joseph, we're already in a brawl. Giant and Loch Ness are going at it. I don't think we really talked much about this last week, but apparently Giant and Loch Ness, they don't like each other. The Dungeon of Doom is apparently only big enough for one big man, or apparently like 7, which we'll find out later in the show. But apparently, the dungeon is only big enough for one big man, and Giant and Loch Ness are just not getting along. They were having issues at the Tornado 6-man tag strap match Lumberjack of Doom last week, and they're still fighting. Some say they're fighting to this day. But Loch Ness has a match. He's wrestling Lex. Lex just kind of walks by, just does his usual entrance. Doesn't even seem to notice that there's this brawl going on right next to him. He gets in the ring, and for some reason, the ref starts the match. Loch Ness gets counted out because he just got his ass beat. Lex Luger wins in 13 seconds. Lex celebrates like he's won the biggest, hardest fought victory of his life. He goes down to the commentary booth. He cuts a great promo by Lex standards. And he says he's on a roll. He's picking up steam. And he wants Hogan. Joseph, I'm going to guess you loved this, but I want to know for sure.
You guessed correctly. I loved this. Him pretending that there was nothing going on as he walked down to the ring made me actually laugh out loud. I thought it was hilarious. He gets in there. Obviously, he gets the win. Like you said, there's not much to say beyond what you said. That really is the segment. But him celebrating so hard was great. And then when he just goes to the mic and he doesn't even say, I'm on a roll. His first words are, am I on a roll? Like, I have no idea. Is this happening? I just keep winning somehow. It's amazing. It's so freaking good. I thoroughly enjoyed it. It was wonderful. This version of Lex and Jimmy Hart is winning me over week by week.
Yeah, I didn't even mention Jimmy Hart. Jimmy Hart runs out. He starts celebrating with Lex, and then Lex kind of pushes him away. Lex is going to win matches fair and square. He doesn't want any of Jimmy Hart's tricks. He's good guy Lex. He's going to win. He's going to win these matches through grit and determination. I loved that little segment that they did. He comes out. He's like, "Yay, we did it!" And Lex like, "Whoa, Jimmy. I'm wrestling real matches here." It was great. But Joseph, you know what isn't great?
What's that, Scott?
Mean Gene is sick.
That's true.
He is out sick tonight, and Tony Schiavone is filling in, and he's interviewing the Macho Man Randy Savage and Hulk Hogan. Savage's attire, I know you're going to talk about it because I think it needs to be talked about because there's some possible copyright infringement there. But he cuts a great promo. Hogan is Hogan. They're there to hype this Doomsday Cage match at Uncensored, and also they've got the main event tonight. And I'll tell you though, this Chattanooga audience doesn't seem to be too hot on this main event. The boos are audible. It doesn't sound like Hulk can afford to board the Chattanooga Choo Choo. What do you think, Joseph?
That was really good. I like that. I think it's pretty eerie so far, the notes that we have, because they're pretty similar. My very first note is the crowd is split right down the middle in cheers and boos. There is a lot of boos coming down. And you're right, Hogan's promo is formulaic Hogan. Not that there's anything necessarily wrong with that. There's just nothing to write home about. And then Mach, he gets the mic and he says, "There's a fine line between hate and love. Yeah, in Golden Palace as we are, we gotta remind ourselves as Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid get ready for Uncensored. But you know what? I like that word. And I like the phrase uncontrolled chaos. Because the tip of the iceberg is gonna happen nitroglycerin style in a little while. Yeah." How do you not love that?
That was a masterpiece.
It was fucking amazing. How do you not love that? That being said, the segment got a D for me. It's not a very good segment, but Mach killed it. Mach made it not be an F.
Talk about Mach's outfit though, because he's got mega powers written all over.
I don't understand. Why would I talk about outfits?
Because you are our fashion correspondent, and if I recall, Mega Powers was a stable that they were in WWF, and here he's wearing Mega Powers attire. How what is going on here? We're gonna get a cease.
You're absolutely right. I can't believe I lost my head. I love to talk about fashion on this show. That being said, let's real quickly grade the outfit because it's phenomenal. It gets an A plus. It's fucking great. Okay, how do you not like this? He comes out, he cuts a fire promo, he's wearing a fire outfit. But to your point, or rather, but to your point, he is wearing something that we've kind of already seen. You know, the Mega Powers seems to be a WWF thing. I don't know if they own the rights to that. I mean, Macho Man and Hulk Hogan were kind of the first guys who made sure to own the rights to their names. So that way they could use them wherever else, or else, you know, you wouldn't have, you know, Hulkamania, what you have here, or the Hulkster, which you have here, or Hulk Hogan. You'd have Terry Mania and the Tearster, and that wouldn't be good. No one would like that.
I don't hate it. I don't hate it.
That
I do not hate the Tearster and Terramania.
Yeah, hear me out. This one's even better. The Terminator.
Oof. That's good.
That's great.
That's good.
That being said, I'm pretty sure they probably own the rights to their own stuff because they were very meticulous about that, and rightfully so.
So maybe Macho just owns Mega Powers, or they both do together. I don't know, because I can't see how you can wear that. So I mean, it's everywhere. It is camera center.
Yeah.
So they better own the rights to that, or they're getting a letter from the attorneys in Greenwich, Connecticut. Following that up, we got the Steiner brothers again. You know I'm a big fan of the Steiners, and they're wrestling Public Enemy. Shit. All right. So we got the Steiners. We got Public Enemy. Public Enemy tries to use tables, and it's okay for some reason. I don't really understand. It seems like it should be a disqualification, but apparently it's fine. They also mentioned that Booker T is going to be Sting's partner against the Road Warriors at Uncensored. That's mentioned by the commentary table during the match. Ultimately, though, the right thing happens. The Steiner brothers win. It is a 7-minute, 3-second match. What did you think about this, Joseph?
I honestly thought this was a pretty good match, all things considered. You got to see from me, there's no real storyline here. The Steiners are just getting another showcase, getting a win as they should, because they're obviously back. They came back last week, and we're getting to see them showcased again, which I love. I like seeing them. I know you like seeing them. I've heard that you some Rick Steiner, not maybe modern day Rick Steiner, who's very transphobic, but 1996 Rick Steiner. I know that you like him. So, you know, what's not to love here? In fact, little known fact here, Scott actually stood in line to meet Scott Steiner. I don't know why I chuckled at that. That's totally fine. I mean, you do you.
I didn't actually have to wait. There was no line.
It sounds more dramatic if you stood in line. You were there the whole day.
I just happened to come upon him as he was setting up. I mean, I want to meet him. That was kind of part of it, but I got there immediately when he was supposed to show up, and there he was. And I gave him my money. I got my signed autograph, my Steiner Math signed autograph. He took a photo with me. It was great. I love me some Steiner brothers. So I'm glad that they're back. I'm glad we get to see them wrestling. You're right. I didn't think it was a terrible match. I just kind of don't understand what's going on. Kind of the whole night where I don't know if they're trying to give us a taste of Uncensored where the rules don't matter, but like they're trying to throw people through tables, and I didn't know it was that kind of match, and I'm just kind of perplexed about what the rules are.
That
But then again, it's a WCW where we just make up the rules as we need
Yeah,
to.
that's also kind of a problem that I really have with Public Enemy, right? Is Public Enemy never wrestles a normal match. They wrestle in normal matches, but they don't wrestle a normal match. And so you get that here as well, right? It's again, I'm kind of go back to this, but I love the Dudley Boys because the Dudley Boys were excellent wrestlers who also did hardcore. And Public Enemy really kind of only does hardcore. That's kind of all they can do. So you have these matches where they're putting hardcore into a standard wrestling match, and you have this like it's the kind of what is it, the water and oil kind of thing where it just doesn't mix, and so you have this kind of recurring problem, and I don't get to watch them and have fun. Like, I don't mind hardcore, but let's make it have a point, right? At Uncensored, I expect to see Public Enemy in a hardcore match. That makes perfect sense to me based off the pay-per-view title. But they aren't in a rivalry, and they're definitely not in a rivalry with the Steiners, who are very clearly building a rivalry with the Road Warriors. So why is this kind of a hardcore-esque match? Doesn't, like you said, it doesn't really make sense.
And the Road Warriors are wrestling Booker T and Sting at Uncensored. So what's going on? I don't know. I don't know. But on that note of I don't know what's going on, we have our next match. And I know I've jokingly overhyped the Booty Man. The fun train is ending here because the Booty Man is wrestling Arn Anderson. I'm not okay with this. I'm not okay with this at all, Joseph. The Booty Man defeats Arn Anderson. And my joking can only go so far. This is serious. And I am offended that this dumbass character, all it is tights with the butt cut out, and he wears neon trunks underneath. That's all this character is. And he's beaten Arn Anderson, one of the greatest wrestlers of all time, the signature of excellence. Joseph, this isn't a laughing matter anymore. This isn't funny. I'm upset now. Booty Man defeats Arn Anderson 5 minutes, 42 seconds. Of note, because there aren't a lot of notes in here beyond my anger, is the woman, she starts taking off her shoe. Kimberly comes down because she wants to see the booty, and because she becomes, I kid you not, the booty girl or the booty babe. God help us. Woman doesn't like that she's down there, tells her to get out. The Booty Man gets between them because, the ladies love the Booty Man. And then he beats Arn Anderson. What the fuck is going on?
So I obviously, listeners, you are very aware that I I cuss a lot. Scott is not very known for it. I mean, he does, but it's not super common with Scott. So that was great.
I do it for comedic effect.
Would you prefer this, Scott? And just hear me out. You have the same outcome with Arn Anderson losing. However, the person he loses to is not the Booty Man. It's the same wrestler, but it's not the Booty Man. Instead, he's the Chattanooga Shoeshine Boy.
No. No. It is no longer a laughing matter. They have gone too far now. It was fine when he was tag teaming with the Mega Powers, because apparently we can say that. It was fine when he was there. It was fine when he was kind of this dumb gimmick doing a squash match with people I didn't particularly care about. But now they're messing with the bull and they're going to get the horns.
So here are my notes for this. First off, I got a D. My first note is Booty Man's entrance seems to be him having a seizure on the way to the ring. I don't really know what he's doing. Well, obviously, twerking wasn't a thing at the time, or at least it wasn't called that. So he's not doing anything that would emphasize the fact that he's the Booty Man. He's just like having a seizure. Like I said, he's just kind of just gyrating, but not even like rhythmic. Oh, he's white, so definitely not rhythmically. And he's just kind of goes to the ring. My next note is this man has no charisma, which is a fact. He's absolutely awful. And then, of course, Booty Girl is christened. And my final note is kill me now.
And he's not even good.
No.
Like, Arn has to work so hard to make him look good in this match. It's all Arn. Arn puts on a masterclass in selling for your opponent and making your opponent look good. And, good work, Arn, but my God, he's not good. Hopefully the next match can salvage this, right, Joseph? Hopefully it will cleanse our palate. We got the Road Warriors, Joseph. We like the Road Warriors.
Hell yeah, dude. We're marching up.
They are back and they are hot, and I've never said an unkind word about them.
Ever.
And they're going up against it's the Nasty Boys.
Okay.
And again, I don't know what the rules are tonight, because at some point the Steiners come out and they're brawling with everybody. And the ref's right there. Like, he sees this and there's no bell. I don't know what the rules are. What is going on? What are the rules? Is this a taste of Uncensored? And if it is, why am I paying for the pay-per-view? Because I'm getting it for free right now. Ultimately, though, the Road Warriors do win. The right thing happens. Nasty Boys get spiked for the Road Warriors to win. What do you make of this?
Similarly to the previous match that this is kind of a copy and paste of, I gave this a C. It's not horrible. Neither of those segments have been bad. They're just kind of, like you said, confusing, right? Like, whatever. C is for confusing. We're doing a little bit of Dean Douglas now. Yeah, what's going on? My notes here, the match itself isn't super interesting. The interesting bit is the continuing storyline between the Road Warriors and the Steiners, who obviously interfere in this match. That's kind of it. Like, we've summed it up, guys. This is it. It's just
I didn't care for it. I didn't care for it.
I mean, look, that's fine. I'm not going to try to change your opinion on that.
Well, hopefully the main event solves this. Hopefully the main event turns this all around. Joseph, I'm going to give you the main event and you tell me what you're thinking.
All right.
This is Hulk Hogan.
Okay. He can do some good stuff.
He can wrestle. He's got the stamina. Randy Savage.
Got it.
Rick.
That's my guy.
Yep.
That's my guy.
Yeah, I was shocked by the pause. It was probably because you were so excited, the words just couldn't formulate. I understand. Happens to me all the time. Ric Flair, Joseph.
Okay, I mean, look, that's kind of your guy. I mean, I love Ric Flair, but I can't say I love him as much as you do.
Ric Flair is definitely in my pantheon of favorites at this point. We got Kevin Sullivan, and you and I kind of like Kevin when he wrestles, like when he brawls.
Well, we don't like
it.
Kevin Sullivan. We don't like the Taskmaster.
That's a good point. That's a fair point. So we got these four guys, and we've got a Texas Tornado tag team match.
So it's just a tornado tag match. That's what it is.
Yeah, well, it's a Texas tornado.
You might remember
tag team match.
Last week I kind of broke down those four different types of matches that they just stacked on top of each other. I mentioned the tornado match, and I said one of the great things about it is you get a lot more tag team moves. So naturally, you would make a tornado tag match that featured two prominent, well-known tag teams that have a robust repertoire of tag team moves.
Well, let me tell you what happens.
Okay.
Because that doesn't happen.
Got it.
What happens is this is basically a Hulk Hogan Ric Flair match, because Savage and Taskmaster go fight off God knows where, and the camera just kind of sticks with Hogan and Ric Flair. That's basically all this match is. It's a Hogan Flair match. Guess what happens, Joseph? Hogan hulks up on Ric Flair.
I don't believe it for a second.
Yeah, who could believe it? And then Arn Anderson comes down, and Hogan hits him with the boot, but then Arn trips Hogan, and then of interest, actually, Brian Pillman comes out. He attacks Hogan, and the ref calls for the bell, but then a brawl ensues, and the Booty Man comes out. We're done with him. He's over. He is foreboding after what I just saw, but that's not enough. So we got the Booty Man with Hogan and Savage. They're brawling with the Dungeon of Doom. But then Hogan's heroes flee when Z Gangsta and the Final Solution come out, because we got two more big men now for the Dungeon of Doom. And this was a 10-minute match. 10-minute, 9-second match. What the hell's going on? Something stinks in the state of WCW, Joseph.
Yeah, it's
Which I must say is a Shakespeare reference. I'm not Shakespeare in love with it, but I thought it was good.
Oh, that marinated. That was beautiful. I love it.
You guys got to keep listening. This stuff just builds.
You know, we have long-term storytelling, which WCW does not have at this point.
Correct. Correct.
Oh man. Okay, well, let's talk about the match. Although we can't, nothing we can do is gonna top what you just said. That was phenomenal. My notes are basically I'm so uninvested in this storyline. I gave this an F before I saw all the mayhem that happened afterwards, by the way, because I was already like, this just doesn't matter. It's so uninteresting. Also, like they do the thing where they attack Hogan with the shoe, right? And this time he hulks up on it. And it's like, dude, this has literally been your kryptonite for weeks. And obviously WWF has actually been making fun of it, but this has been killing you for weeks, and now all of a sudden you're just completely immune to it. Like what is going on? It's it's bad, right? It's really bad. You kind of mentioned how this could have been a decent match. It obviously is not a decent match. I think they would have done a much better job in a standard tag team format, by the way. I think that would have worked a lot better. It just doesn't work. And then obviously you have these two people who, if you really don't know, you're not going to know who they are, right? The first one is Tommy Lister. That is I don't, what would you call him? Something Z something? What would you give him?
The two new characters, I don't know who's who. It's Z Gangsta and the Final Solution.
Okay, so Z Gangsta is Tommy Lister. And Tommy Lister was in the movie No Holds Barred with Hulk Hogan. And he played a character in it called Zeus. And in a cross promotional thing with the movie in WWF, he actually wrestled as Zeus for like a year or so. And so fans kind of do know who he is. It's not great. By the way, he's actually a very talented, or was a very talented actor. Unfortunately, he has passed away. He passed away a few years ago, but was a very talented actor. The most notable thing that people will probably recognize him from was the film Friday, where he just got knocked the fuck out. That's Tommy Lister. That's Zeus, or Z Gangsta, as it were. And that has not hit theaters yet, I don't think. I think where it might have been this year or last year. I don't know. Anyways, doesn't matter. The other guy, which I've already forgot the name of, and please don't remind me, I don't care, is Robert Swenson, who's a bodybuilder and wrestled a little bit here and there. He is not notable in the wrestling world. Like he's wrestled, but he's not a big name. Not that Zeus was really a big name or Tommy Lister, but at least he was a more notable name. So you have these two guys, and there is an actually interesting fact that connects these two guys. Would you like to hear it, Scott?
I need something to save this, so tell me more.
Okay. Do you like the film Batman and Robin?
Not really.
Yeah, Scott loves the film Batman and Robin. He's a huge fan of it. Well, Robert Swenson is Bane.
Well, now I love it.
Yeah. Do you want to know what makes it so interesting that he played Bane and what connects these two guys?
I do.
Okay. Tommy Lister was also in a Batman film. He was in The Dark Knight, and he's the man who has the iconic line, "Give it to me. You can tell them I took it by force. Give it to me and I'll do what you should have did 10 minutes ago." And then he throws the detonator out of the ship. That's that dude. That's Tommy Lister. It's a great scene. By the way, if you don't like Dark Knight, fuck you. That is a great movie.
Yeah, I like that one. Well, Jesus.
But not to be outdone, Robert Swenson also has an iconic line where he says, "Ah!" So it's like the same thing. I mean, when you talk about like levels of performance, they're pretty much identical. Also, real quick note, this whole fucking segment sucks.
Yeah, it's not good. It was bad. The whole night for WCW was bad. And we're not quite done yet, because now we go to Tony Schiavone, who's with the Dungeon. Pillman's left again. He's nowhere to be seen. Jimmy Hart and Kevin's been introduced, these new big men, because I guess we didn't have enough big men. in the dungeon who are already fighting each other. It's dissension in the ranks. Let's just add more big men because, what could go wrong? They say they're gonna destroy Hulk Hogan at the pay-per-view. Ric Flair does have some insane lines about that he's gonna have Miss Elizabeth visit Randy Savage in the hospital after I'm laughing just reading it. After she rides Space Mountain all night long. Woo.
You okay there, bud?
It's just the stupidest fucking thing. And it's the only part of this that has any redeemable value. And that's it. That's WCW Nitro, Joseph. You got any thoughts about this this conversation here with Space Mountain?
I don't. I didn't like this episode. It's a bad episode.
You didn't like that Miss Elizabeth was gonna ride Space Mountain all night long, woo?
No, I did not. I no, not even like in a funny, like, ha, that's hilarious. But I didn't like it.
It was stupid.
Yeah.
So I loved it. But that's all that matters. All right, let's move on. Let's move on to WWF Raw because they've been putting on some pretty good shows. I didn't give it to them last week, but after what I've just seen, it's gonna be hard for them not to win it tonight. We start though with a video of Diesel hitting Shawn Michaels with a chair. There was a house show at Madison Square Garden over the weekend, and Diesel has officially turned heel. Hit Shawn Michaels with a chair. Whoa, Joseph, what do you make of that? That's intense.
I love it. I didn't grade it because obviously it's like it's not really part of the show. It's just kind of showing you they're setting up the fact that Diesel really is truly a heel. I believe part of this reasoning is because Diesel has actually given them notice that he is not renewing his contract and he will be leaving for WCW. So they are actually actively working to kind of segue him out of the company. And they left on a little bit better terms than maybe, Razor Ramon and WWF did. So they aren't going to really just kind of throw him to the wolves like they did with Razor Ramon. Not that it's going to hurt him because obviously he's going to be great after this. But they had him in like this huge storyline. So it's too late for them to just kind of turn it around and be like, oh, we're just going to remove him and Undertaker feud to somebody else. They have to continue with that. So it is what it is. And they're just going to slowly move on to WrestleMania. And then very shortly after that, he will be gone. I think he stays for like another month or so. But I believe at this point he's given notice.
After that, we got our first British Bulldog, Davey Boy Smith versus Jake the Snake Roberts. Jake the Snake gives the Bulldog, I think, a good run for his money. He manages to hit the Bulldog with a DT, goes for the cover. Jim Cornette interferes, which causes Jake the Snake to grab his snake, an actual snake, not any euphemisms you sickos might be thinking, and chases Cornette out of the arena, which results in a count out, and the Bulldog defeats Jake the Snake via the count out, 4 minutes, 52 seconds. Joseph, what'd you think?
I liked it. I thought it was a really good opener. Obviously, it ends in a DQ, which I'm not always fond of DQs, but this is continuing the march to WrestleMania. They've now kind of put Jake the Snake in this 6-man tag situation against Camp Cornette. So it makes sense that they would have this match. It also kind of makes sense you would have a DQ so that you don't kind of give away, a preview, or you're just giving a preview for WrestleMania. You're not giving away a potential win-loss situation. I thought it was fine, all things considered. I thought it was a really good open to the show.
Agree. Yeah, I thought it was a fine match. I didn't really mind the count out. It seems to jive with kind of everything we know. Obviously, Camp Cornette are bad guys. They're cheaters. They tried to cheat. Jake the Snake didn't allow it. So he went after Jim Cornette, and I thought it was fun. After that, though, we get another workout montage with Brett and Sean getting us hyped for WrestleMania. Sean again just talks about how, man, it's a dream. It's a dream to be the WWF champion. Meanwhile, Brett tells us about all of Sean's shortcomings. He really takes exception to Sean's hockey attitude. Again, I think this is a good way to handle this. Did you like it, Joseph?
I did. It got another A from me. I think if we did this a third week in a row, I might start feeling a little bit differently about it, but we'll see when we get there. Last week I really spoke very highly of it. This week I'm going to do the same. It gets another A. It's a lot of fun. I also like that Brett actually admits that he basically barely won for the last 5 months. Like all of his matches really didn't result in decisive wins, that he kind of seems like he's on a downward trajectory, even though he's still technically the champion, and he kind of wants to prove that he has it and he's going to put Sean in his place and that he is better than Sean. He does take quite a few shots at Sean, which I think are kind of like, all right, I really would love it if Brett turned heel after this. He's not going to, so a man can dream, but oh well. But I thought the acknowledgement that his title reign really hasn't been good, and I've obviously said that as we've been watching this and recording this podcast, but I've also said it's not necessarily his fault. I think the booking has been really poor in his title reign. I like him kind of admitting that, and it kind of breathes some reality into this storyline. So I enjoyed it.
Agree. After that, though, we got Gold Dust. And we got Fatu. We love some Fatu. We love some Gold Dust. Gold Dust is wearing a kilt, obviously another jab at Rowdy Roddy Piper, who he's going to face at WrestleMania. We also get a glimpse of Jake the Snake at on WWF Superstars. He issued a 3 versus 3 match challenge against Cap Cornette at WrestleMania. Overall, though, Goldust defeats Fatu 4 minutes 39 seconds. Break down the match for me.
I liked the match a lot, and that's about as much as I'm going to say about that because I got to go attack somebody. So Jerry Lawler spots a Goldust fan. I believe it was a little girl in the audience, which he then refers to as Chastity Bono. So you may not know this if you kind of didn't live in this era. Now Chaz Bono, but at the time Chastity Bono. Chastity is at the time daughter, now son of Cher and Sonny Bono. Were obviously a huge power couple for a long time before they got divorced. And at this time, Chastity had just come out as a lesbian, and being a very kind of high profile kid of this big power couple, this thing was under a ton of scrutiny. This is 1996. This is not a good time to be doing it. She is one of the first to do so. And it was like, I remember being at like the supermarket as a kid, and there was just tabloids just talking shit about the then Chastity Bono. And I'm only using that name. I know it's a dead name. I'm only using it because it's applicable to the time. I would never refer to Chaz as that now. But I remember it being a huge problem. And like, people were just attacking this poor person over and over for like understanding more about themselves and just growing as an individual, and really was a driving force for the LGBT community in kind of helping to gain acceptance. We've talked about like a lot of the women in WWF who really had to struggle at this time to be able to make things better for the women now in WWE. Well, for people of the LGBT community, this is kind of the same thing. Chastity Bono, again at the time, took a lot of shit and continues to take a lot of shit now as Chaz Bono, and it's an unfortunate reality. So Jerry just being a bag of shit all around. Hey, this is a funny joke. It's not, Jerry. You suck. Fuck off. That being said, I like the match.
Well, okay then. After that, Camp Cornette accepts Jake the Snake's challenge for the 6-man tag team match at WrestleMania, 3-on-3. They do know that, I guess I haven't really noticed, but apparently Mr. Fuji, Yokozuna's manager, hasn't been around. They say they pushed him down some stairs, so I guess there's that. We get Yokozuna on the video scope screen, and it turns out he's Samoan, which I thought he was Japanese, but it apparently very Samoan. There's a new stipulation on their match. If Yoko wins, he gets 5 minutes with Jim Cornette. What'd you think about this, Joseph?
I loved this segment. It got an A for me. Jim Cornette cuts a fire promo, and then Owen takes over and he continues the fire, and then Bulldog takes over, and then the fire completely goes out. And then Jim Cornette takes back over and then starts the fire again. And this segment was great. And then I was kind of okay with that. Like at that point, I was okay with them just saying, yeah, we're going to accept this match, blah, blah, and then done. And I still would have given this an A. And then right after that, you like you mentioned, you have this segment or this section with Yokozuna where he gets to kind of say his thing. And when he mentions the stipulation, Jim Cornette goes absolutely mental. I mean, he sells it so well. I thought it was really well done all around. Bulldog, I was giving Bulldog shit. He doesn't do a horrible job. It's just not, he's just not on par with the other men. That's fine. But it really was a very fun segment. And again, another nice build to WrestleMania.
Anything Jim Cornette touches turns to gold. And this is just another example. Another great promo from him. He always manages to get me hyped on things that I might not be particularly hyped about. Did a great job. After that, though, they again showed the Madison Square Garden match where Diesel turned heel, hits Shawn with a chair. He's a bad guy now, and that leads us into our next match where Diesel wrestles Barry Horowitz. And man, poor Barry Horowitz. We like the guy, but it's just not going to work out for him. Of note, the Paul Bearer comes down to ringside and he's got a casket with him. This distracts Diesel. He thinks Undertaker might be in the casket. Very concerned. Doesn't stop him from defeating Barry Horowitz. He wins, beats Barry Horowitz 2 minutes, 9 seconds. But after the match, he goes over to the casket and he breaks it open and he sees a wax version of himself inside. That freaks him out and he's out of here. What'd you think, Joseph?
I gave this an A. I loved this segment. So Diesel, first off, checking under the ring for Taker, like on the way down to the ring, made me laugh. I thought it was hilarious. Like you said, Paul Bearer does what he does. And Diesel is shook for a moment, but then he still wins. He regains his composure and he gets the win. He should obviously win. It would be cool to see Barry Horowitz take the win because he's, distracted, but I get it. It's a little bit hard to believe. So it's fine. And then, like you said, Diesel is in the casket. It's him, right? And it's interesting because they actually did a pretty cool technique because again, they're filming this all ahead of time and then just editing it and putting it out. So it's a wax version of him until they zoom in. And when they zoom in, they clearly filmed him in the casket at a different time and then just edited those two together. And so it makes it look like when they zoom in, it actually, I mean, obviously it really is him when they zoom in. It's absurd and I love it. This is my kind of level of absurd. I love spooky Taker, shenanigans. It made me chuckle a little bit, but I'm hyped for it. I really enjoyed this. I've been talking about how well I've kind of received this rivalry for weeks now, and I'm excited for the blow off at WrestleMania.
It's art, man. It is art.
Also, like as a kid, my mind would have blown seeing this. I'd have been like, "Oh my god, he's in the casket." You know what I mean? Like, yeah, this is great.
I'm surprised that's not how they end. You kind of felt like that should be like the end of the night. Like we should go to black after that.
Yeah, I definitely agree.
But we don't. We got a Bret Hart match. We got Bret Hart versus Tatanka. And Tatanka apparently was he part of $1 Million Corporation?
They've kind of been teasing that he will be, but there's never been anything official yet.
Because Ted DiBiase shows up, 1, 2, 3 Kids shows up. Bret Hart goes for the sharpshooter, but Ted DiBiase distracts Bret Hart. The Kid gets on the ring and he grabs at Bret Hart. Tatanka tries to take advantage, but he hits Kid on accident. And then Bret Hart manages to do what you love, the roll up for the win. Bret Hart defeats Tatanka 8 minutes, 48 seconds. Tell me more, Joseph.
I gave this a C-. This is such an odd choice because last week they had a match that, this is a glorified squash, right? And last week is kind of a glorified squash too. We all knew Hunter wasn't going to win last week, but they had a really good match. We know Tatanka's not going to win this match. It just doesn't seem possible with how, much you've pushed. And obviously Bret Hart is your number one guy at this time. That's fine. You can have a glorified squash match, but they did nothing to promote this, rivalry going into WrestleMania. They did such a great job with it last week. I think they should have had a second straight week where Sean comes out and watches the match. Then you can't have some of the shenanigans, I'm sure, but you could have done things where Sean actually prevents some of the shenanigans and kind of actually helps Brett win. I don't know, but anything was better than this. And I really would have liked to have seen more of the kind of Sean mind games going into WrestleMania, because it would be really fun if, even if he was still a good guy going into WrestleMania, Brett is very done with Sean and just wants to shut him up and beat him now. That would be a lot of fun. So it just feels like a step backwards. Like last week they did such a great job, and this week they do this, and it just fell flat for me. It's not horrible. The match itself is fine. It's okay, but it felt like we halted momentum.
Agreed. It was a missed opportunity. Bret Hart and Tatanka wrestle a good match. They're good wrestlers. That's not in doubt. What is in doubt is how this really pushes the story at all. It doesn't really do it. It's just a match for Bret Hart to wrestle Tatanka, and I guess now he's got beef with the $1 Million Corporation, which I don't really remember Bret having beef with the $1 Million Corporation before, but now he does, which doesn't really matter because he's wrestling Shawn. That's the angle we care about. And like I said, I feel like this night really should have ended with Diesel opening the casket. That seems like the way you should have ended this night. So it was kind of disappointing to have this match, and then it doesn't even really progress a story. I guess Bret's a fighting champion or something. I don't know. These are non-title matches, and it don't matter. But we're still not done, because to end the night, we have another Billionaire Ted skit, and this may be the one where they legally go too far. I've said this before, but they keep going. And at some point, they're going to get in trouble for it, and they're going to have to stop. And this might be the one, because this time, Ted Turner, Billionaire Ted, is meeting with the Federal Trade Commission, the FTC. And in this meeting, he's talking about how he wants to get rid of WWF and all that kind of stuff. But more importantly, at the end, they talk about how a merger with Time Warner would give Ted Turner a lot of control over television or whatever, and that you need to call the FTC and tell them that you don't want this merger to go through that apparently Ted Turner was trying to do with Time Warner. I think they might have gone too far in this one, Joseph. I don't know. What did you think?
I don't know, it just felt like, I don't know, you have this panel, and it seems like there are a few good men, you know what I mean?
Like, yeah, sure.
You didn't like my reference? Alright, fuck you.
Well, I thought it was a few good men. I don't know. I'm sorry, man. I guess you can't handle the
Well,
truth.
that's what this is. That's this whole thing. It's a few good men redone. It's bad, right? It's literally, they're just referencing that movie, which came out 4 years prior to this, so it's not a timely reference. I feel like Vince literally just watched the movie, like he had never seen it before, because that's kind of how Vince was. Like he never kept up with what was going on. I feel like somebody just went, "I like it," and then they just decided they're gonna go do it. It's not good, you're right. It's also like a bit of like, it's kind of ironic, because their assertion here is that if you let him do this, he's gonna have too much power and he'll be able to kind of control cable TV. Also, real quick aside, he wasn't buying Time Warner. Time Warner was absorbing his stuff. So he was gonna eventually be kind of pushed out of this. Like that's not really kind of how this worked. Time Warner was going to become the company. So, regardless of that, their assertion is that if you let him do this, he will have a monopoly on cable TV, which is ironic because that's literally how the WWF got created. Like, when Vince McMahon took it over, at least, he created a monopoly in wrestling. Technically, there's other wrestling companies, sure, but technically there's other TV platforms. So it's the same thing. WWF was essentially Walmart to the mom and pop shops that were the territories. And what he did was systematically buy out all of his competition by taking their biggest stars and leaving them with nothing, and they all folded.
And then buying their TV time slots.
Yeah, so you're upset about this, but this is literally your thing, right? This is what you did. So I don't know. It's dumb. Like you said, this could have been the one where they got fucking sued. I don't know. Who cares? It's stupid. We're so close to these all being over. I'm ready for them to be done. It got an F. It wasn't good.
But how does it stack up on the night? Did WWF beat WCW despite this billionaire Ted skit?
Yeah, I think wholeheartedly. I mean, this skit was, real quick as the end of the program. You probably could have, and I'm sure most people did, just turn off at this point. And I would have, except for I had to take notes on it, which sucked. But overall, the show is really good. The show got a B from me, and it was far better than WCW was.
Yeah, I think you're right. I give it to WWF this time. I think all the matches were pretty good, even if they didn't progress storylines. The match itself was fun to watch. So I'm not gonna. Not every match has to tell a story. Sometimes you just need to have a match. So that's fine with me. I allow it to happen. I really like the Diesel casket thing. The Bret Hart match was whatever, but overall, I thought the product was better tonight on WWF than WCW. WCW has wronged me with letting Booty Man defeat Arn Anderson. It's not funny anymore, Joseph. Stop laughing. I don't like it anymore. Yeah, WWF definitely won. But what did the fans think, Joseph? And I mean, we're going to really surprise the audience tonight with this Nielsen that they haven't heard before if they didn't listen to the last podcast where I accidentally spoiled it. What is it?
So Raw stays steady here. They had 2.9 last week. They have 2.9 again.
And WCW goes up. More people, 3.6, 3.2 last week. People saw last week and said, I got to get more of that. And then they watch this week and then they might be going, yeah, maybe I don't need as much of that. But we'll see. Tune in next week and we'll let you know how they stack up. Thanks for listening. I'm Scott. With me is Joseph. Have a good one, everybody.
Bye, guys. Hey, everybody, it's Joseph. And guess what? Not only can you listen to us every Monday on Spotify, but you can find us on Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, and YouTube Podcasts as well. Just search for Monday Night Wars Podcasts. If you want to reach out to us, you can find us on Twitter at MON Night Wars Pod, on Instagram at Monday Night Wars Podcast, or just email us at mnwpodcast@gmail.com. And finally, subscribe to our Patreon at Monday Night Wars Podcast. For $2 a month, you get every pay-per-view from WCW and WWF during this era, as well as additional content later on. Once again, thank you for listening. We'll see you here next time on the Monday Night Wars Podcast.